Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. In this episode, we talk with Nate Bailey, who survived a tough job market by selling life insurance out of his non-target university. Learn what was the hardest part of his path, the difference between being an agent and a broker, and specific advice he gives to the younger listeners. Enjoy. Nate, thanks so much for joining the Wall Street Oasis podcast.
Hey, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
It'd be great if you could just give the listeners a short summary of your bio.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a veteran, military veteran. I was in the Army National Guard, was an officer. And from there, it kind of led me, I got deployed to Kuwait in 2005, 2006. And I came back home and I picked back up inside of my insurance brokerage that I had at the time. Was in the insurance industry for insurance and financial services, actually, but mostly insurance for about 14 years. And just almost to the day 2 years ago, I sold my agency and to do what I do today, which is to coach, to mentor other business owners and entrepreneurs out there. We have a program that we call Immersion, where I just came back from in California, where they come through a live event, live experience to help them kind of take that next level inside their life and inside of the business. Mm-hmm. And so I love what I do today, but yeah, the insurance as a coach inside of athletics, high school, college, my time as a leader inside of the Army, like all of that stuff prepared me for what I do today. So I'm so thankful to have all those experiences.
Very cool. So let's start all the way back. You went to undergrad. What year? You graduated 2001? Is that right?
Yeah, I graduated in 2001.
And did you go straight into did you get sent abroad right then? Was that kind of?
No, so
what was your timing like?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a teaching degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for just a short time, got into sales, a few different industries, mm-hmm. and then kind of settled into the insurance business in 2004.
Why do you think? And so, like, in terms of like what you did right when you graduated, was it tough to find a job back then? I know we went into recession soon after. Was it like just scrambling to try and pay bills? What was it? It like?
It was tough. It was tough to find a job, especially, as a teacher. Mm-hmm. What I came to find out really quickly is that a lot of these schools, especially maybe in the physical education coaching side, like they had somebody in mind that they were looking to hire, mm-hmm. Whether it was a local guy or whatever. And I was really kind of tied to where I could get a job because my wife was going to school to become a physical therapist in Rochester, Minnesota at the Mayo Clinic. And so really I don't think I was ever meant to be a teacher because of what I do today. But yeah, so that led into, just trying to pay some bills. So I was like, what am I going to do? I started selling some furniture at a furniture store. And, I found out I was really good at sales. And then that led into some car sales and really just didn't like the car business and the hours and everything else that went into that. But, you learn along the way. And then ultimately that led me into the insurance industry.
I feel like there's a lot of kids that are coming up trying to get into these high finance careers. Oftentimes, if they don't have the right expectations or they kind of graduate and don't have anything to do, there's oftentimes the insurance sales.
Yeah.
The insurance companies will be happy to take you, right? Yeah. And put you through the program. But oftentimes it can be like a kind of eat what you kill type program. Was it all commission? Tell me a little bit about the pay structure. Were you barely making anything at the beginning, and then did you kind of progress up? Because I'm curious, the people who are driven, the people who are like, is it a viable career plan for the kids that don't make it necessarily into what they want? Because I just to give you some context, the people who are listening, on Wall Street Oasis, a lot of them are like, I'm going to be an investment banker no matter what. But the reality is, a lot of kids don't have the grades, they're not the right schools. They don't really understand how to network properly. So they don't end up there. And then they kind of, one day they wake up, they're graduated and they got to pay the bills.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell me a little bit about this whole eat what you kill mentality. What was it like? Did you make, any money the first year, the first year?
Yeah, it definitely is an eat what you kill mentality. Each company is a little bit different. Some will give some form of a salary, although there's really not many out there that do. A lot of them will have some kind of a structure where it's like some kind of a draw so that you can survive and live. But really, the fine print is like, man, if you don't hit your numbers, like you got to pay that back or whatever it might be. So it's really, you really need to do your homework and research going into this. And then you better be ready to like just go to work and have conversations and not have anything about it. Because in the beginning, especially for me, I didn't know anybody. I was new to this area. My wife had grown up there. I didn't know anyone. And I had to figure it out quickly. And these insurance companies, yeah, I mean, it literally is like, I'm going to throw as many people against the wall and see which ones stick and stay.
Right.
That really is what it is. I'm sure they would argue that that's not how they go about it, but
Is the training kind of just like, and learn how to sell rah, rah, rah kind of thing? Like you just got to go out there and talk to as many people?
yeah, it really is. I don't know what else a manager can do, but and each company is probably a little bit different too in the training that they will give to you. Some of it's useful, most of it's really not. It's just like, you got to kind of go and figure it out on your own. And I was forced to do that. I mean, I was willing to do whatever it took, right? I called under the phone book. I knocked on doors. Of course, you take advantage of every relationship that you have in a way, and you got to be careful how you do that to not burn bridges and stuff like that. But I mean, you got to be willing to go out. I think it's great from like a character building standpoint and from a just like hard lessons of how to be an entrepreneur, and
Just
because you
getting
really are
rejected.
your own business.
You're getting
Yeah,
rejected all the time.
I mean, yeah, you just got to be willing to do whatever to be successful. And I was in the business for over 15 years. I'd still be there had I not decided to sell and do what I do today.
But initially
So,
you were at Farmers, is that right? You're at Farmers, and then
well, so I started as a producer for an agent. So it wasn't actually my agency, and kind of learning the ropes from him. He was a very successful agent with a company called Country Financial.
yeah.
And then I went to Farmers for a few months, got deployed, came back and worked with Farmers again for another year or so, and then made the switch back to Country Financial as an agent. And I was there for 4 years. And then by that time, I've been in the business for a fair amount of time, and it was successful and was building a good book of business.
What were you selling at Country Financial?
Yeah, Country Financial, it was multi-line agency, so mostly auto, home, life insurance.
Yep.
And then also, they also had us selling some mutual funds.
Was it still very eat what you kill kind of mentality, but you were working under a guy that was
totally eat what I
successful?
kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't hand me anything, which was kind of, they would promise that there'd be some book of business that they would throw you away after a certain time, and it just never really
Materialized.
that. And so ultimately, I went and I made the jump to be an independent broker. And my last 7 years in the insurance agency was as my own independent insurance broker.
Tell me what that means. You just get to keep all the economics?
Yeah, so as a broker, instead of being with Country, with Farmers, State Farm, American Family, some of these bigger companies that we've probably all heard of, that's what you would call a captive. So right, it's their products. You don't have any other options. And so sometimes it's even not really maybe necessarily in the customer client's best interest, because if you're looking at it from a cost standpoint for some of these people spending their hard-earned dollars on insurance. So to become and as a company their rates start to change with the market, just like everyone else's, just like everything else in our world, you start to lose clients, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have any other options. So to become an independent, there's a lot of advantages from the standpoint of, you have the group that I was part of. We had, over 50 different contracts with different companies. So we had a lot of options for our clients, which was awesome. So we could, we didn't have to lose clients. We could retain them better. The commissions are better, so the pay is better.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't really start as an independent. No one wants to hire you as an independent if you don't have any experience and you don't have a book of business to bring with you.
Do you mind sharing kind of the pay progression from when you first started out to kind of how you're doing once you're at an independent, like even a range if you don't want to give me exact numbers?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And every company's a little bit different here too. Farmers was, they almost were a little bit more like an independent pay scale. And I think they've changed a little bit since then. But the typical on the captive side would be probably 10% on a home for commission premium. So if a premium's $2,000 for the year, you're getting, $200. And that's on a renewal basis. So every time it renews, you get paid that. But the renewals sometimes are a little bit less. They can be the same. A lot of times they're tied to life insurance production. These companies make a lot of money selling life insurance, and life insurance is important. But so the more life you sell, sometimes the more commissions you can earn on everything. And then the home or the auto, we were getting paid like 7.5, something like that, which is really, really, really quite low. When I went independent, it was closer to 15 all the way around for everything.
And then all in, what could you expect to make as an agent under one of these places? And then, once you went independent, was it a big jump up or because it was better?
Yeah, it's a pretty significant jump up just because, the commissions are almost double if, on certain lines.
So people who first start out, are they like barely eating? Are they making like 20K a year? And then,
yeah, they're more than likely barely eating. They're making like, 36. If you're really producing, you can make more. If you sell a lot of life insurance is where you have the potential to really make more money because the commissions are much different inside of the life insurance.
And then independent, you're probably closer to what, 50 or so? Or more?
No, I mean, because once you make the switch to independent, typically you have a good client base that you're bringing with you.
Got it.
So, I mean, you should, if you're not making six figures, you're doing something wrong.
Got it. Okay.
And the bonuses that you get paid on the independent side is year-end bonuses based on your book of business is much different than on the captive side as well. So
you were doing this for a good number of years, and tell me kind of what was the skill set that you learned the most besides just being able to get rejected a lot and picking up the phone and doing all the cold calls? And was it once you built your book of business, it's kind of like a asset manager. Once you build it up, it's kind of becomes easier and easier because you have that base, right?
Yes, absolutely. But, as you build your book, then, service becomes extremely important, especially in that type of business where no one really likes insurance. The only time they really care about it is when they have a claim and they need it the most, of course. And so, it's important that the more clients you have, the more staff that you need to help to service and keep them happy.
That's true.
And really, it's just all about like being as proactive as you can. I always consistently with, communication, communicating with the clients, keep staying in front of them as much as possible, showing them that you appreciate them, taking care of them, calling them before they have to call you type stuff. Of course, as you're building the business and you have staff, it's like, you're learning how to become a leader, learning how to lead other people and continue to keep them on the same vision and mission as you and the company and where you want to grow it. And
so even though technically you weren't an entrepreneur, you kind of already were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It's a very entrepreneurial place to start out, and you're given very little, like you said. But
in the beginning, you don't technically own your book, depending on what company you're with. Most companies, you don't really own the book, but you definitely are a business owner. Like you're definitely out there. They're like you're running it like a business. And then when you become independent, I own my book, like I own my business, and I was able to sell it quickly once I made the decision to move.
You mind sharing what you sold it for, or how that works, or how they value these types?
Yeah, typically it's on average it's you can get about 2 times what the book business is. So say you have $2 million in premium, and that's generating let's say 300,000 in commissions a year, then you would get
about 600K.
2 times of that would be 600K.
Yeah. Okay.
Easy numbers to work with.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so it's about 2x. Sounds a little low. Sounds like
you've heard of some people getting a little bit less than that, and I think you've heard of people getting maybe up to 3 times.
I mean, isn't that pretty sticky?
I would say if that's it, that's probably if it's like this super huge large book,
right?
You might be able to get a little bit more.
Got it. Okay. So what kind of prompted the change?
Well, for me, it was, insurance never drove me. It never woke me up with excitement, just
Mm-hmm.
raring to get out of bed and go. But it afforded me a lot of great things. It afforded me a nice lifestyle. It afforded me the ability to be there for my family when I wanted to. But I just love doing what I'm doing now, impacting men and women, especially business owners, entrepreneurs. Because I mean, as an entrepreneur, there's just it's different than the 9 to 5er, right? I mean, there's so many other. You never get to turn it off. You're always thinking about it. You
Mm-hmm.
have all these other stresses. You have the stress of supporting other people and other family members, and you're always thinking about, are you going to be able to make payroll? How can you make more money? How can all the things that come with owning a business, and it's just very unique. And so, I get to take my experiences again from what I've learned, and to help these men and women that are coming through that, they're constantly trying to get a little bit better. Some are really
How did
struggling.
you get
Others are
involved?
just,
How did you get involved with this company, and what made you think about it? Like, did
yeah,
you
well, the
start it?
first,
Are you a co-founder, or what was kind of
no,
the?
so really how I got into it myself was I was going through some similar struggles, and invested in myself 5 years ago. Like, just wasn't happy where I was at. And from there, I learned that there's this actual space out here of people that you can invest in, other people to help you to avoid some of the things and to get to where you want to go a little faster. And so about 5 years ago, after realizing this and going and doing the work on myself to get to where I wanted to go in my life,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And so slowly, as I was continuing to build my insurance business, didn't like cut that out and just
And so
leave it.
you were getting it ready for sale this whole time.
Yeah, I really was in the back of my head. Didn't
Yeah.
know exactly when it was going to be, but I was positioning myself because I knew that I didn't want to do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if I could find a way to do what I'm doing, which I am now,
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather be doing that and
That's
really
awesome.
making a significant impact on other
That's
people's
awesome.
lives.
So you were able to sell out, kind of get a good chunk of change, but also kind of start doing stuff you love. With more importantly, you're happy to wake up every
Yeah.
day. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
but what specifically? Why that you always loved to coach, always loved to teach? You always thought you were going to teach, kind of coming out of school, or like what?
Yeah. I mean, if you look back at,
You did it yourself, and you're like, wow, that really helped me, like straighten myself out and get myself my shit together, for lack of a better term. Or how did it help you?
I think I always knew that I wanted to do something like this. You just don't know exactly what it is. I remember young age, speakers would come to our school. We'd get out of class, we'd sit in the assembly, and I just thought how awesome that was. As people go around, they motivate and inspire and impact these kids. And I was like, man, that would be so awesome. And then, I always gravitated towards leadership positions, whether it was in athletics, as a coach, as a leader in the Army, as a platoon leader, business owner,
Mm-hmm.
insurance industry associations. I gravitated to become a leader in these places. Yeah. And so I just look back and just, you never really know until maybe you hit a certain point why certain things happen in your life, and you kind of look back and you're like, oh man, that makes sense. That path that I was on was really to position me for what I'm doing today.
And so you've been doing this now for a couple of years, almost 3 years now. Tell me what it's like. So you're out in California, and people fly in from everywhere to do what? And what do you put them through? Just tell me a little bit more about your business now. And is it your own business, similar how you're doing it now? Are you a part owner? How does it
I'm
work?
a part owner inside of our business.
Yep.
We're business partner, Satem Ali. He started the company. We have a team of people. Of course, we have a few other owners involved inside of this company and where we're going and growing. But yeah, I just came back from California. We run a immersion experience. It's 4 days, and we have a men's program and a women's program. The women just came through, and from, like you said, we had people from Alaska, from New York, from Texas, from California, Seattle, all over the place. And so they came, and we take them to the beach. We work them out. There's a lot of things that come out, walls that get broken down when you get worked out and you get tired and fatigued. You come together as a team and they work together to where they can start to open up to really get the help that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about leadership, about like just certainty and clarity on their path and what they want to do and what's going on for them. And so we, over 4 days, it feels more like 2 weeks because they're long days and we push them hard.
Yeah.
But over 4 weeks they come out, and then from there we have an annual 12-month program that we will continue to coach and work with these men and women after that program, if they want to stay inside of the conversation with us as clients.
And how much of do you feel like the help you're giving them is, I mean, it's almost all, is it mostly mental? Like, are you guys talking about them? It's about like making connections, and like, are a lot of people going through they're searching for something, they're just not happy? Or is it just for people who are just trying to kind of get to the next level? They're stuck. Like, what's
Man,
everything?
it's really all of the above. It is a ton mindset for a lot of them.
Hmm.
But also, there's technical tools, tool sets and skill sets that we give them. We talk about business, we talk about marketing, we talk about communicating a powerful message, building a following. That's all stuff that we do to build our business on a daily basis. So we're talking about that. Sometimes we're talking about marriage and like relationships and how to communicate there and to get a different result if that's what you want. And so it really does cover what we call the big four: physical, spiritual, relational, and financial, depending on where they're at.
Very cool. That's awesome. So for the young guns, young guys and gals listening to this podcast, that are kind of searching for a specific career path or think they have to have it all figured out, any advice you'd give
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, I was just thinking of this, as we were going, you were talking about how a lot of them have an idea of what they want to do, and sometimes it's not a reality for them because maybe you said the school they go to, the grades that they get, and in that place, that's a very dangerous place to be, right? Because now you can automatically feel like a failure at a very young age. And I would just say, like, have nothing about whatever opportunity you fall into, and just like give that everything that you can. You don't have to have it all figured out when you first just are starting. Like, just know, just like my path that I've been talking about, the experiences that you have, like you 100% will be able to use those, and they will help you to get to where you want to go eventually. Just because it doesn't happen for you now doesn't mean that it won't. And you might find out that the investment banker job that you thought you wanted, you really didn't want at all. Like, and you'll figure that out just by, living life and trying
Yeah,
different things.
it's very true. It's interesting because you have some kids, they read Wall Street Oasis, they read the threads, they get all hyped about
Yeah.
this is the path I have to go on.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're coming from really tough situations, whether it's a low GPA, not the right school, and they make it and they
Yeah.
bust their ass, and they work thousands of hours that they take, they reach out to thousands of people, do hundreds of calls, do like
Yeah.
50, 100 meetings, and they do it. And then they're there and they're like, why did I do this?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So yeah, I think it's an important lesson that,
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know. You don't really know what it's going to be like till you're actually in there working those 80 plus hour weeks.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you can be in a place where it's eat what you kill, where it's tough. And sometimes the lessons you learn there in terms of sales, in terms of surviving, can serve you well throughout your
Huge.
career, like it
Yeah.
did for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the leadership training is often undervalued. The behavioral portion of the interviews is often undervalued,
Yeah.
and the cultural fit, because people this will go and they'll memorize the technical answers, and they don't realize that the person sitting across from you is actually a human being. You
Yeah,
need to
they're
actually
actually a person, right?
you need to connect with them in the interview. You
Yeah.
shouldn't just be like spouting off the right answers, and
100%.
then people don't
Yeah.
know why they don't get the offers. But great, man. Nate, I appreciate you taking the time. Is there any plug you want to give for your thing? Tell us the name of where people can find you.
Yeah, you bet. The easiest place to find me would be either my website, NateBaileySpeaks.com, or you can check me out on Instagram, Coach Nate Bailey. But all the information, like everything that I put out, can be found through my website. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for taking the time.
Appreciate it, man.
And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick at wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.